Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Anarchy Arena Podcast, episode 18. Today's episode is going to be a bit of a departure from what we normally do, and we are going to talk about something serious, mental health. That being said, while we urge you to give this one a listen, we know that this is a sensitive topic for some. We are by no means experts on the subject, but as you'll hear, we do have some important things to say, and we encourage you to listen, and please reach out to us if that's something that you need. There will also be no outro for this episode, in keeping with the serious nature of our conversation. Now, with all of that out of the way, here is episode 18 of the Anarchy Arena Podcast. Time to get serious.
All right, welcome back to the Anarchy Arena Podcast. Once again, it's just me and Chris tonight.
An
And
intimate session with the Anarchy Arena Podcast, if you will.
it is a little intimate. We're both naked.
In our minds, we're naked.
Well, in my mind, you're naked.
Always knew you felt that way, buddy.
But we've got to take a couple weeks off due to live things coming up and whatnot. One of the big reasons we kind of took a week off is John had himself a bit of a crisis a couple weeks ago, and I told Chris I wanted to do this episode, and I'm not regretting it in any sense of the word. I'm kind of looking forward to it. This one's dealing with mental illness. Now, before we start this, I do want to say one thing. I deal with depression. That's it. It's the only thing I really deal with. So everything I talk about tonight, understand that it's coming from the perspective of someone who deals with depression.
From your personal perspective at that.
Right. What I'm saying may not work for everybody or may not be the case with everybody. And I would love to actually, if you experience depression and you listen to this episode, please leave a comment. Tell us about what your experience is like, so long as you're comfortable with it. I believe that the only way to really help with mental health, mental illnesses, depression, anything like that, is to talk about it. Keeping it under wraps is the reason why there's such a stigma about it. And to me, I feel like a stigma about that is the stigma around that is the reason why we don't really get any true progress in at least the mental health field.
I would have a tendency to agree with you on that. So, again, before we get into the meat and potatoes of this episode, I want to make it clear that anything that I say on the subject does not come from personal experience. It comes from observation alone of people I have been around that are dealing with mental issues. So if I say something out of turn, please understand I'm not doing it needlessly or not doing it viciously or anything like that. It's just based on personal experience of viewing. I have no personal experience with any diagnosable mental illness.
Right. And to be honest with you, man, I do believe that if I were you, I would try my damnedest to see a therapist. But I think everybody should.
You're probably right. Everybody should. And there's
everyone
reasons.
Thinks you have to see everyone thinks you have to see a therapist when something's wrong with you.
No, you don't. You can see a therapist at
It's
any
like a
time
general
for any reason.
practitioner.
Right. It's like going to your doctor for a checkup. Everyone should have a mental health checkup, realistically.
Yeah.
And I was actually talking to your wife about this the other day. The reason that I don't is twofold. A, even with insurance, the shit can get a little pricey. Let's be realistic.
Yeah. I think my therapist, $60 with insurance. I think it's like 80 without.
That's not too bad.
Yeah, it's not too bad. I may be wrong, to be honest with you.
The other reason behind that is it's kind of it's a double-edged sword for me.
Okay.
Because my family medical history is like I'm screwed on both sides. On one side, I'm getting all the body issues between heart disease and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
And on the other side, I'm getting all the mental issues with bipolar and schizophrenia and paranoia coming on the other side, as well as breast cancer.
Right.
Which, yes, men, we can get that.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you got it in your family, make sure you get fucking checked out.
Yeah.
Something I need to do. Actually, I need to take my own fucking advice. But because of that, it's like a double-edged sword for me. If I go and find out that I do have these things coming down the pike, or I do have these things sitting in the back of my head, then I know about it, and then I'm constantly thinking about it.
Yeah.
But if I don't go find out, I know this is probably terrible for my own mental health. I'm recognizing this. If I don't go find out about it, then it's not always in the back of my head. I'm not always thinking about it. Just, you know, most of the time.
See, I was like you. Actually, this is kind of relatable. I was like you. I didn't want to go to the therapist to find out how fucked up I was. I didn't want to go to a psychologist and have them go like, "Oh yeah, you have full on fucking depression." I just thought it was an occasional fucking thing until I had multiple big attacks. I don't know how to describe it. Basically, it's like breakdowns where everything is shitty, and you know, a lot of people think depression is just about being sad.
It's not.
No, not even a little bit. It's the sad is kind of the beginning of it. Sad's kind of like the appetizer of the depression sit down dinner. It's the apathy. Apathy is the real fucking meat of it. It's not that you feel sadness, it's that you feel nothing. And you just feel like you're in
so you would say it's not having too much feeling, it's having no feelings at all.
Right. It's kind of like being in a sensory deprivation chamber where you don't know where you are, you don't know how you feel about things, you don't you feel disconnected from humanity. And it's a weird sensation because you're just like, you go into, this is just me. Well, when I start having the backtrack play in my head, which if you don't know what the backtrack is, basically, you know, if you have an internal dialogue, which some people don't.
I do.
Yeah,
I'm raising my hand right now. I do.
The majority of people do. Some people do not. The part of your brain that starts telling you that everything you're doing is useless, that you're never going to do anything that's of any value, that no, your friends don't like you, you don't like you, you don't know why people want to be around you, so why would they be around you? That backtrack going on in your head is kind of what happens when you start getting into these depressive states. And last week I had a really big one. And I don't, again, this is my depression, comes in very wide array of flavors, but I don't get sad and cry in a fucking room. That just doesn't happen to me. It might just be because of previous trauma from my childhood that I don't cry as often as I should. But a lot of it is just I get fucking angry and moody and irritable. I don't want to talk to anybody. Everyone can fuck off. I don't want to deal with them.
That's aside from his general mood of not wanting to talk to anybody.
Well, no. I do like talking to people, though. You got to admit that. I am very social when I'm not in my fucking state.
Fair enough.
I love talking to people. I love finding out new shit and amazing things about people. But when I'm really depressed, I don't give a fuck who the hell you are. Just leave me the fuck alone. I don't get on any fucking social media websites. I don't talk to people. I just isolate myself in my room and watch YouTube until I go to sleep. When I get really deep. So, and I know I know it may seem like I'm doing most of the talking here because I kind of am. But this is a personal thing for me. This is an episode I've been wanting to do for forever.
Yeah, we've been talking about doing this one for a while, and we were actually hoping that Billy would have been able to join us for this one because we would have loved his input on this, as well as some stuff that was going on with him for a short time. But obviously, you know, life gets in the way. So hopefully we'll have him back soon. But yeah, we've been talking about doing this one for a while. This is something that's important to both of us. John, because he personally goes through it, and me, because I've seen so many people in my life go through it, whether it's a temporary thing or a permanent thing, and it can be one or the other, or it can be both.
You can be depressed without having depression.
Exactly.
That's just how it goes.
You can be depressed without being clinically depressed.
Right. Unfortunately for me, I'm clinically depressed. The first day I was in my therapist's office, he was like, "No, I would classify you as depressed, like having depression." And I was
So
like,
what was trying to find the right word here, for lack of a better term, what was the straw that broke the
the
camel's
tipping
back
point.
that made you go, you know what? I should probably go ahead and give therapy a try.
You were actually here for that.
I was?
Yes.
Okay.
A couple years ago on my birthday. It wasn't the last one. It was the one before.
Okay.
I basically hid up in my room and cried all day. I didn't like myself very much. I didn't think I deserved other people's love. So I stayed in my bed and cried for about 14 hours. And like legitimately wrapped myself in covers and was crying for no fucking reason other than I just hated being alive. I hated how my body felt. I hated breathing. And that's kind of when I was like, okay, I really need to see a therapist. Because before then, it would happen, but it would go away.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, then obviously it's not that big of a deal. Until I was like, well, shit, that was a big one.
And it keeps happening.
And
it keeps happening. It keeps happening. So
Yeah.
obviously it is a big deal. And
Right.
the double-edged sword thing we were talking about a couple minutes ago.
Right.
You know, you don't want to have to deal with it until you have to deal with it.
Right. And that's kind of what happened is I was in I got out of it. I came downstairs. I came to be social when I felt like I should. And thankfully I had a lot of people around me at that time that were more than willing to share love. Cause that's the other part of it. Is that you feel like you isolate yourself because you feel like you don't deserve it, but you also isolate yourself because you think nobody really feels that way towards you. So that's kind of one of my biggest things for dealing with people with depression is if they isolate themselves, you got to understand, just be like, look, I understand. I will be there. I will be there for you if you need someone. And you got to let them make that decision. You cannot force someone to be, you cannot force someone in a depressive state to get help. It's just not going to fucking happen. Matter of fact, if you are combative with them, it'll make it fucking worse.
And I've seen that personally. If you try to push somebody into it, it's going to make them run away even faster from it.
Yeah, 100%. Because the biggest thing with depression, at least with mine, is you're just saying that you're there for me and that I need help. That's all you've got. Fuck you. You don't really care. And I don't actually believe that. It's just that's what's going on in my depressive state.
Yeah, that's how your head works
Right.
when you're in that state of mind.
Right. But the biggest thing, and I talked about this on one of Count Jacula's streams. We were actually having a big long discussion about this. No, the best thing you can do for someone who has depression is listen. And I mean listen, not wait for your turn to respond. I mean listen. Let them vent. Let them get it all out of their fucking system. Don't judge them. Don't come to them like with solutions or like, well, maybe if you looked at it this way, I don't give a fuck. If I'm in that fucking state, let me fucking get it off my fucking chest. Maybe eventually I'll come around to it. But at the same fucking time, don't offer to fucking fix the situation. I don't need someone to fix it. I just need someone to listen to the problems. And generally I'll fix it my fucking self. And I know that may sound abrasive, but again, and this is just me. Some people may need someone to be there like, I'll fix all your problems. But for me, just leave me alone for a little bit. I will come to you when I'm ready. Or just listen to me. That's all I want is someone to listen to all my fucking problems and not judge me for having these problems. Because that's the biggest fucking thing. There's a wonderful quote from Marilyn Manson, of all fucking people.
Somehow I'm not surprised by this, actually.
You remember how after Columbine, everyone was blaming him and video games and shit like that?
Stupidly, yes.
Someone asked Marilyn, like, what would you say to the two young kids at Columbine who shot up their school? He said, I wouldn't say anything to them. I'd sit down and listen. Obviously, they had problems. They needed to let someone know. And nobody would listen to them. I would listen to them.
That's probably all they needed, to be honest, is they just needed someone to go, "What's up? What do you got going on? Talk."
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's not, you're feeling isolated because you feel like everyone's judging you, so fuck them, I don't want to deal with them. The best thing for someone to do when you're dealing with someone with with depression, manic depression, something like that, is to listen to them. Just go, hey, look, I'm not gonna judge you. Just let it all fucking flow, and I'll sit here and I will just let you vent to me. And usually occasionally I've had vent sessions that lasted like an hour. So occasionally it's like 5 minutes. And a big part, another big thing that happened with my depression is when I got into streaming and being like a little bit of an internet personality. I don't know if this is an actual thing, but I call it the Pagliacci syndrome.
Okay.
Where you're always the clown on stage. You're always a sad clown. You cannot be anything else. You feel like you can never take off like your fucking stage makeup. You are always that character. You have to always be on. And there are days where you're just like, I don't want to fucking be John the Joker. I just want to be, John. And there are times where you can't, or there are times where you feel like you can't ever get out of it. And that's kind of the reason why I took a big break from streaming. I'm kind of back now. I'm trying to get more consistent. But people feel, and it might just be me internalizing this, but it's like, man, people expect me to be the person I am on stream all the time. I wish I didn't have to be, but I have to.
I can understand that. You get the feeling that people expect you to be 100% all the time, and that's just not physically possible.
Well, they don't understand that my streaming personality is not that different from my all regular day personality.
It's really not.
It's just turned up to 11. But that turning up to 11 all the time,
it requires work. It requires effort.
Yeah, it does. It's like everyone, so we're kind of going back into streaming, our first episode, but everyone's like, oh yeah, streaming's easy. I'm like, no, the fuck it is not.
No, it's not. For anyone who's ever done it or tried it, you know for a fact that it's not. Not only is it a time sink and a money sink, but it is a huge emotional sink, whether you're, the ninjas of the world or the metal Barretts and John the Jokers of the world.
Right.
On either side of the coin, it is a huge emotional sink because you get invested into how everything's going and how you're doing, and whether you want to or not, you're constantly looking and you're wondering, well, am I good enough? Why aren't people here? And then when people are there, then you're wondering, wait, why the fuck are these people here paying attention to me of all people? You don't get away from it. And I'm sure if some of the bigger guys ever came out and admitted it, they'd probably say the exact same thing.
Oh, I guarantee they do. I guarantee they deal with it. You can tell it sometimes. Especially when they lose their fucking minds. Like, speaking of Ninja, losing, like, kind of going off on fucking Twitter and making videos. I can tell that guy's like, he is incredibly stressed out right now.
Especially for a guy as young as he is.
Yeah. He's the face. He's one of the faces of the internet completely. And he has to be on all the fucking time. That's got to be physically and emotionally draining.
Yeah, I can't imagine what that guy does when he's off stream. If it were me, I'd be just like vegetating.
I think that's what he does. I think that's the only way he can deal with it is going into a vegetative state. Like that's, and I don't know him. I don't know this for a fact. So do
not take this to heart.
Yeah,
this is a theory.
This is just a theory. This is from my observations. That guy is like Ghost is going through a lot right now.
It's what it seems like. And while, a lot of people, in whether they're depressed or manic or whatever their mental state is, when they're going through some shit and they end up going from 11 to 12 for a while, and then all of a sudden that 12 becomes a 2.
Yeah. It's kind of like, it's tough, man. It's really tough to fucking put into words. It's like when you could feel it coming. You could feel these fucking waves coming. And I guarantee they do too, where it's like, oh fuck, I'm about to say or do something stupid, but I cannot stop it. I just don't know. I don't know when it's gonna happen, but it's gonna happen. And it's tough. It's really tough to plan for. It's like, I hate when people, like, legitimately, if you want to see me get legitimately fucking angry, tell a depressed person to stop being sad or have a positive outlook. Fuck you. That shit does not fucking work, will never fucking work. And every time you fucking say it, you remind them of the fact that they can't get in a positive fucking mood or just turn the corner and everything will be all right. They can't fucking process that fucking thought.
Yeah, no, their chemical imbalance doesn't let them.
Exactly.
And I think that's what a lot of people forget. It's not just, the mental part of the emotional crap. It's a legitimate chemical imbalance in your brain that doesn't allow you to process events and emotions on a quote unquote normal level. Not to say that I know exactly what that normal level is or anything, but if you were to do a baseline comparison to an average of the way the rest of the humanity deals with an emotional issue, because of that chemical imbalance, you simply do not have the ability to process it the same way.
Well, I think honestly, and I don't mean this in any negative way, Chris. There's a reason why we're doing this episode is because I want to get rid of the stigma of it.
Yeah.
I also feel like sometimes you do know what that feels like. I feel like sometimes you go through it and you don't know, you don't have the coping techniques for it.
I want to agree and disagree at the same time.
And that's fine.
And I know why that is. And because some of the times you're 100% right. I know when it's happening. I can feel like shit. I'm down. I'm in a dark fucking place right now and I don't know why.
Yeah.
I need to get the fuck out of it. What's the quickest way to get out of it? Because I don't have time for this.
Right.
And those are usually those days where you don't see me for a day or two because I'm holed up in here working on stuff that I don't really need to be doing. I mean, let's be honest.
It's just busy work.
It's just busy work to keep my mind occupied,
Right.
That's why John and his wife Jessie like to make fun of me a lot of the time, because I'm one of those people that has to have sound on when they sleep because I hear high-pitched ringing in my ears. I've got a mild tinnitus thing going on. But the other part of that is if my brain is paying attention to what's going on in the soundscape or on the screen, then it's not processing everything else that's happened over the course of the day. So I don't have fucked up dreams like I used to. So there's that too.
I mean, I understand that, but you still watch the same video every night. I don't know how your brain doesn't just.
I move between different things, film theorist and PBS eons, and
okay. So you're going now to like podcasts and stuff like that, because I listen to podcasts to go to sleep.
I was doing that, and I also have like a dark scream thunderstorm that I listen to. That helps sometimes. I just have to have some kind of background noise on just to shut off my brain,
right?
Because otherwise, my brain will keep going all night, and I won't sleep.
Right. No, I get that. I have the same thing. But the reason why I said that, and I don't want to make you feel like you're a bad person or that there might be something wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just okay. There's something wrong with you, but it's not your problem.
There's things wrong with me, and I'm fully aware of that.
There's things wrong with you. There's things wrong with everybody.
Yes, nobody's perfect.
Nobody is. But you don't have to feel bad about it. Sometimes, most of the times, it's either due to trauma or some type of stimulant that happened to you at some point that has now developed this reaction, or maybe just be maybe a chemical imbalance. And that's the reason why I said, like, Chris, I would love for you to go to a therapist. Because and it really helps out because it doesn't. It's like working on a car. Okay. Imagine if all you had to work on a car is a hammer and a screwdriver. Well, that's not going to be enough to fix every part in the car.
We're not MacGyver over here.
Yeah, it's not. We're not fucking Jeremy Clarkson using a hammer for everything.
Not to say that neither one of us haven't fixed a car with things that we probably shouldn't have been using, but
multiple times. But going to a therapist is like getting tools. They teach you new ways to how to fix problems. They teach you new coping methods. They teach you the one that me and my therapist were talking about this week was cognitive reinforcement. So basically, whenever you get the backtrack going on in your brain, you got to think, okay, no, that's just my depression. I don't really think that. I don't really believe that. And then another thing that I had to work on is I also stress and depress eat. That's the reason why I gained. That's the reason why I got to 310 pounds, down to 260 now. So
Yeah, he's been doing really, really good. I'm very impressed, actually. And for anyone else who's got a weight issue, I want to let you know John's been working on losing weight. Jesse's been working on losing weight. I've been working on losing weight. And honestly, everyone makes it out to be this really difficult thing. As long as you're watching what you eat, you're watching how much you eat, and you start to recognize, man, I really don't need to be eating this fucking much.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing right there. And I think body positivity has a lot to do with it, because if you don't feel good in your own skin, you're not going to feel good, period.
And that's another thing that's another reason why I think you should go to the therapist. I feel like you have some body image issues that you need to work on.
Well, body image was part of the reason that I dropped the weight that I did.
Yeah.
Because I went from 220 to at my lowest 162. I'm sitting about 170 now.
Still look good.
Wait, I mean, there's a little bit I could lose here, but that's literally just body fat. It's not like, grotesqueness or obeseness. It's literally just a little bit of leftover fat that I'd like to get rid of, but it's not that huge a deal.
I mean, you're, like I said, you have body image issues.
I do.
You do. And I love you to death, dude. And I've always been like, I don't know why the fuck he thinks he's ugly, or, he can't, I don't know why he thinks that women would be interested in him. You're a good looking guy.
And I've never felt that way.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you why I've never felt that way. I just haven't.
I mean,
always been that way.
Not playing therapist here, but like, did some shit happen to you as a kid, or
nothing that I can think of off the top of my head? I mean, I've even talked to my folks about this, and they don't understand where it comes from, because my parents are extremely loving, extremely resourceful, intelligent people who have always been there for me. I mean, yeah, we've had our spats. They're my parents.
Yeah.
You're going to have your spats with them. So it's nothing like that. I honestly can't tell you where that part of it comes from. I'll tell you.
Yeah.
After I move my mouse so the computer doesn't die while we're in the middle of recording, I'll tell you the most recent issue I had, which I don't know if you recognized it or not. You probably did. Was for those of you that don't know, I'm a long-term smoker. I've been smoking since I was about 16. For the last month and a half, have been working on quitting. Got some herbal cigarettes that have no nicotine, no tobacco, and I was smoking those. And first time I went through my quitting process, I did hypnotherapy, and that was at the beginning of the month. And we're
just
recording.
Curious, how much did that cost?
It cost me $120.
Okay.
And I didn't smoke for 3 straight days.
You didn't. But here's the thing: you were also thinking about smoking all 3 of those days.
I was. But during those 3 days, was I thinking about the whole time? Absolutely. And then I had one, and I got so angry and so disappointed in myself, and I felt like such utter shit, until it took a couple days for me to realize this is not a quick fix. This is going to take start and stops. This is going to take baby steps. And that's what I'm doing. I went 5 days my last time before I backtracked again. I've got a new supply of herbal cigarettes that are on their way in, and that should get me through for a little bit longer. My next goal, obviously longer than this, but my next goal, I made 5 days. Let's go for 7 days this time. And if I can hit 7 days, cool. All right, let's go for 12 days and just step it up until I'm at the point where I'm like, well, shit, if I'm at 30 days, why the hell do I need to start up again?
Well, by the time you're at 30 days, why even fucking smoke?
Exactly. So it's a baby step thing. But even this last time when I got to 5 days, I ended up having one again. I recognized what made me need one. And I recognized that I was disappointed and angry at myself. And I knew it was the wrong feeling to have, but I was still having it anyway. Right. And correct me if I'm wrong, but that's kind of what you go through sometimes too, is the feelings you're having are maybe not wrong, but they're not the feelings you want to be having, but tough shit, there's nothing you can do about it at the moment.
It's that's the reason why I said, like, dude, I think it would do you tons of good to go get a therapist, to go find somebody to talk to that's a professional. Because I know exactly what you're going through. I knew exactly what you were going through a couple weeks ago when you were like pissed off all the fucking time. It wasn't the fucking lack of nicotine. It was the fact you smoked one and you're like, God damn it, I wasted $120 fucking dollars and I'm back to stage 1.
Yeah, that was a big chunk of it. Although I will say, for anybody who's considering it, I do not regret the hypnotherapy. It was a very interesting experience. And
I imagine so.
Yeah, man, it was fucking weird. Okay,
Did you go to the sunken place?
Yeah, that's exactly what it felt like. Like, so I'm sitting down with the hypnotherapist, and she's asking me questions, like, okay, what do you want out of this? How aggressive do you want this to be and all that? And she's like, are there any concerns that you have? I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, I'm a relatively analytical, logical, scientifically minded guy. I'm a little worried that this isn't going to work for me because I'm be sitting here psychoanalyzing you while you're trying to psychoanalyze me. She's like, no. That makes you the perfect candidate. Because while you're consciously psychoanalyzing what I'm doing, I'm talking to your subconscious and you don't even know it.
Yeah.
And for those 3 days, she was absolutely right. She was absolutely right. And yes, I did go to not the sunken place like Get Out, because that would have been fucking freaky, right? That would have been fucking freaky. But I did sink, and it was just the weirdest fucking experience. And I didn't fall asleep, but I woke up from that feeling more refreshed than I've ever been from 15 hours of sleep. Not that I ever got 15 hours of fucking sleep.
Now you should try it sometime. It's real cool.
I wish I could. Believe me, I wish I could. I will go to bed at midnight tonight, and I guarantee I'll be up at 7 without even trying.
More likely. But no, like I said, I really think you would benefit from it as well. I mean, and that's the reason why I wanted to do this. Again, I want to say this. The reason why we're doing this episode, I want to end the stigma. There's nothing wrong with you for needing help.
Absolutely not.
I know in America there are probably some international people listening to this, which, by the way, thank you. But in America, there's always this fucking like, tough it up, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, blah blah blah.
Especially
bullshit.
where we are in the country.
Yeah, fuck that noise. This is the reason why men die at fucking 50, because they have so much stress and so much fucking pent up mental issues that it just kills them. And I don't want that for you, man. I want you to live until you're fucking like 80.
80's a good number.
80 is a good number.
That's
like the cusp of I can still wipe my own ass.
Right.
Which has been me and Chris's like measurement of quality of life.
Yeah, exactly. When I get to the point where someone else has to wipe my own ass, just fucking shoot me. Okay.
Right.
A, no one wants to do that for me, and B, I don't really want them doing it for me. So just put a bullet between my eyes at that point. I'll be good.
But like, I know that you have a lot of shit pent up in you, because I could see it in your eyes, because I've been there where you were. I could see you have a lot of pent up emotional shit, and you don't want to show it because and again, I don't know why. I don't know if there's like some previous shit going on, or maybe it's just brain chemistry, but I could feel it in you. I could feel it like when you're really angry about something and you just don't let it go. I'm not saying like do like what I fucking do, which is like look around for shit that's the least breakable and throw it against things. I'm just saying like maybe find somebody you can vent to. And I'm not just saying a girlfriend. I'm saying like somebody
with professional training.
Right.
Yes.
And I'll say it I want everybody, if you're listening to this and you have these feelings, you have these emotional responses to things, and you don't know what to do, if you have the opportunity, please go see a therapist. It has done me so much good in the short amount of time that I've been doing it. Because for years I didn't want to fucking admit I had a problem. And it's funny because the minute you start going to a therapist, the first fucking thing that comes out of people's mouths are like, oh, I didn't know anything was wrong with you, or oh, you're just going to see a therapist? Is there something wrong? I mean, no, there's nothing wrong with me. This is just the way my brain processes things. I just need some help. And even like the worst thing is when people get, like when you have anti-psych medication or antidepressants, people think like, oh, I wouldn't take those if I were you. Fuck you. You don't know what it's like.
There is a big stigma about antidepressants and SSRIs. And part of that is a lot of people don't realize that it's not you take those pills on day one and they start working. No. They've got to fuck with your brain chemistry for a little bit and figure out the right levels for you. So is it going to make you sink even lower for a little while? Yeah, it's entirely possible. So don't discount it if it doesn't work the instant you take pill number one, because it's not.
It's not a miracle pill. Like, again, I don't take antidepressants because, my psychologist is like, you don't really need medicine yet. We'll get to that point if we need to. But right now, I think we caught it before it became a real big problem. So yeah, just keep coming to therapy and we'll talk about this. And I was like, okay, perfect. But if it came down to medication, you're goddamn right I would fucking take it. And I would take it proudly. Hell, I would take that shit in front of customers at work. Yes, this is an antidepressant because I work at this place and I have to deal with y'all's fucking problems too. I have to be your therapist as well as my own. That one tasted like grape.
There is one cultural group that, well, cultural group might be the wrong term, but there is one subset that I don't think medication is appropriate for, and that's younger people.
I kind of agree with that. I disagree with it a little bit, but I agree with it.
And I know why you disagree with it, and I understand that. My reason being for that is you're giving a mind-altering chemical to someone whose brain isn't even anywhere near being fully developed. The latest research basically tells us that our brains aren't stopping developing till about 22 to 25. So if you're giving a 16-year-old antidepressant medication, then you're taking brain chemistry that isn't finished forming yet, and you're conditioning it to this other substance. And I've seen this with a friend of mine that I lost in high school who was diagnosed with depression and put on antidepressant medication. And because they couldn't get her levels right quick enough, it sunk her so low that she ended up blowing her head off in her parents' basement.
Right.
Which I first of all, if there's a hotline for that, everybody, and
we'll put the hotline in the description
in the show notes. And I urge you that if you have those urges, please, even if you don't call that hotline, call somebody if you get to that point. But the reason I say that for the younger demographic it doesn't work is that's why, because your brain's just not fully developed yet, and teenagers' brain chemistry is so through the roof. You can go completely switched up levels at any given point in time.
I agree with that. 100%. But I also think, like, at some point, like, just because your brain's not fully developed doesn't mean that they don't know what's going to fucking happen. That's the reason why you have to get a good psychologist, a good psychiatrist, the ones that actually know what works and what doesn't work. I think too often that they let the fucking guidance counselors make that decision, but that's not this show. And yeah, I agree with what you said about self-destructive thoughts. I haven't had like full-on self-destructive thoughts. I haven't thought about killing myself. I have thought about not wanting to exist. I just haven't pulled the metaphorical trigger, which I apologize that if
that's a quote unquote trigger.
Yeah,
for
if
some
that's
people.
a quote unquote trigger. I didn't mean it that way. What I meant was like my brain hasn't made that switch up. Yeah, fuck it, try it. Thankfully. And I think it has a lot to do with the therapy that I'm going through. But there's always as long as you have one thing to live for, just one, that is enough to keep you alive. And that's the reason why you gotta, even if you can't talk to the people that are closest to you, which I get that too. When I'm in my full fucking depressive state, I don't want anyone I know to talk to me. I don't, just leave me the fuck alone. I will talk to random strangers before I will talk to you, because I don't want to force my shit onto you because I love you too much. And don't feel bad about that. Don't feel bad that I don't want to come to the people I love with that. I have to tell Jessie this all the time because she has anxiety. So she wants to fix everything, and I'm like, there's no fixing it.
There's no fixing. Just let me work through it. I'll be fine in X amount of time.
Right. It's like the reason why I push people the fuck away is because I feel like I'm a fucking living bomb, and that's the reason why a lot of you, if you have friends that have depression or family members that have depression, if they seem like they're pushing you away, that's the fucking reason why. They feel like they're a toxic bomb about to blow, and they don't want you to be in the fallout zone.
Now there is the other side to the mental health issue, and it's a lot more violent and aggressive than what you have going on.
Yeah.
And there are those people that have those kind of issues where I'm going to tell you point blank, if I see you acting this way, or if I notice one of these symptoms, I'm going to look at you and say, dude, you need help. Or, hey, chick, you need help.
Yeah, borderline personality disorders.
There's
like
that. There's So part of the things that come up with my family history, and I've told this story before, I probably told you this story before.
Potentially.
So my grandfather
Mhm.
was a paranoid schizophrenic most of his life, and that has the potential to run genetically. Not always, but it has the potential to.
Right.
Um, one of the one of the stories that I cite as a reason why that worries me. So I'm 9 years old.
Hmm.
Grandpa comes over to visit. Shit you not. You cannot make this shit up. And now I can look back at it as an adult and realize how fucked up it was. But for years, I thought it was hilarious. Got me sitting on his lap. We're talking. My mom's in the kitchen doing whatever. And he looks at me, dead face, straight, like not trying to joke at all, and says, "You know what, Christopher? You can kill yourself by injecting carrot juice in your veins." To a 9-year-old. Now, my response was, "Grandpa, why'd you pick carrot juice? You could do it with air." And all I hear in the background is my mother going, "Dad!" You know, that's what I have sitting on one side of my family, is someone who thinks that
Right.
telling a 9-year-old you can kill yourself with carrot juice is okay.
Right. And that's fucking terrifying. I don't even find that shit funny, and I find about everything funny.
The only part of it that I find humorous is, why the fuck did he pick carrot juice? Out of every carrot juice?
Well, you say he was paranoid schizophrenic, right?
Paranoid schizophrenic.
That is probably one of the fucking things he was hearing.
It's possible.
Because schizophrenia isn't just hallucinations; it's also auditory.
Auditory hallucination.
Yeah, auditory hallucination. So a lot of people, a lot of schizophrenia is hearing the hallucinations. Now, granted, I don't know if your grandfather was on medication or.
I honestly don't remember if he was or not. Towards the end of his life, I made a conscious decision, and my mother made a decision that I was not allowed to see him, and I was okay with that.
But
he'd had a stroke, and he basically gave up, and I didn't want to see that, and my mom didn't want me and my brother to see that.
Right. But that's like, and yeah, that's the other fucking end of the spectrum of fucking mental health, and that's the scary shit. That's the reason why you don't want to go to a mental health expert.
Because you don't want to know that your shit is that bad.
Yeah. It's like, hey, you have that. All right.
Great. Awesome. So when's it going to hit me?
But to be honest with you, Chris, I don't think you have that. I think you're being paranoid about it. I don't think that you actually have to deal with that stuff. I've never seen you react to auditory shit that's happening in just your head.
No, thankfully. And as I've said for many years, and yes, I know I'm stealing another dadism, and I'm sorry, is just because you're not paranoid does not mean that they're not out to get you.
Yeah, but just because you do believe everyone's out to get you doesn't mean they actually are out to get you.
Details.
No, that's the other half of it that nobody wants to talk about. You know, and that's the reason why, like, I really, it scares me sometimes when you're up here by yourself, because I know where you're at. I know exactly where the fuck you are. You are in that spot of, I'm alone. I am utterly and completely fucking alone. There is nobody that understands me. And you got to understand. And I want, if you're out there listening to this and you are having these thoughts, I need you to understand this as well. You're not alone. There is somebody out there that can talk to you. There is somebody out there that is willing to help you out. There is somebody out there that does want you to live. Think of that. And if you don't have someone close to you that will come to you, that will come to your aid, or you don't have a mental health expert, there are hotlines. There are friends. There'll be times I've messaged a friend of mine on Discord, on Twitter, text message, whatever, and go, "Hey man, I need someone to talk. I need someone to talk to." And sometimes I'll get a message like, "Sorry man, I'm busy," or usually what happens is like, "All right, hold on one second, let me get on." And then I'll unload. I understand that not everybody can be that person. And God bless the people that are those that can just sit there and listen. Find somebody. And if you can't find somebody, my DMs are open on Twitter, at John the Joker. Please message me. I will talk you through some things. I may not be there constantly.
I mean, he probably will be. The man doesn't sleep. I mean, he stays up till dark 30 in the morning.
No, I stay up till bright o'clock early in the morning.
Which reminds me, we have to say, we're recording this at the beginning of March, so we have to set our clocks back or in the morning. Our phones will tell us.
We're losing an hour today. But
it'll be brighter a lot earlier than you expect.
It will be. that's the fun part of being a night owl. These time changes don't really affect you. But anyways, excuse me.
No, I think everyone should have that one person that no matter what, if you dial their number or you shoot them a message, they're going to pick up and go, hey, what do you need? And I'm lucky to have a couple of those in my life. And I really think someone said to me years ago, and I'm sure it's a quote or a cliche or something like that, but it really stuck with me, is you don't need a large group of friends. What you need are those one or two that you can count on no matter fucking what.
Right. No, I agree with that. It's the person with 1,000, the person with 1 million followers on Twitter may not have one person that they talk to. The person's got 300, maybe 400 followers on Twitter may have about 5 or 6.
Exactly.
Have those people you can talk to. And it will blow your mind if you reach out to somebody who those friends are. I mean, obviously, I consider you one of those friends.
Yeah, we have that, and that's not to say that we don't have our spats, because we do. I mean, we're friends and we live together. We're gonna have spats. It it fucking happens.
We're basically dating. We've been dating for 12 years.
Yeah, God, that's a scary fucking thought.
But the one that came to me recently, and it kind of blew my fucking mind. I mean, it shouldn't have, but it really blew my fucking mind. Is Jack, Count Jacula. I messaged him. I think it was like late at night, and I was like, "Dude, I'm in a really bad fucking way, and I need someone to talk to." And he said, "Okay, I want to be on Discord in like 5 minutes. Give me a second."
See,
I was like, "Okay, fuck." Like,
yeah, not something you'd expect, but you don't realize how grateful you are for it until it happens.
Yeah, and honestly, and if Jack listens to this, it really, my heart grew 3 sizes that fucking day, because I was like, this guy who I've idolized on YouTube, who I've grown to actually get to know, reached out to me. I don't care what anyone fucking says. That's the greatest feeling in the world. Sorry, I'm crying a little bit.
John's getting a little emotional. Well, if he can do it, so can I. So something else that might work for some people, because it's what worked for me at one point. There was a point a few years ago where I was in a super dark place.
Mm-hmm.
I was living by myself at the time, and which isn't for everybody, and it's not for me. I learned that the hard way. It is not for me. I was living by myself at the time. I was at a super dark place, and I did have thoughts of just screw it, ending it all. I was ready. I was done.
Yeah.
Life got to be a bit too much. A friend of mine, and they know who they are, had their significant other do that to them, and then leave themselves for my friend to find. And found out about it that night, and trying to work through it for the next few days, and ended up going to the service, and it wasn't the passing of this person that caused me to be upset. It was watching the person I consider my closest friend in the entire world breaking into 1,000,000 pieces just to pull half of them back together and then break again, and once every 10 minutes for about the next 3 months.
Yeah.
So at that point, I basically made a promise to myself. I was like, okay, no matter what, no matter how bad shit gets, because it will get bad. It will get good for a while, and it will get downright dark as fuck again. No matter what, I will not be the person responsible for putting this person through that ever again. I refuse to.
And
So if you have to make a deal with yourself like that, if that's what it takes, make a deal with yourself like that.
And I want you to make another part of that deal for that, because I've actually made this one myself, which is, if I get to that point, I'll reach out to somebody. I don't care who the fuck it is. I feel like you need to do that as well.
Probably. And now that I say that, I'm not even sure that person knows that side of it. I haven't ever told that to them in person. So if they listen to this now,
Right.
So thank you. You probably saved my life and you didn't even know it.
Thank you for saving my friend's life.
But yeah, everyone's got a different coping mechanism. Everyone's got something different that works for them. If therapy is what works for you, awesome. It's not for everybody though. Some people it just doesn't work. If medication's what you need, do it. If you need to have that one friend, okay, that's what you need. If you have to make a deal with yourself, do it. The point is, get the help however best fits you. There is not a generic Band-Aid for mental health. Everybody's different.
Yeah. No, that's completely, that's entirely my point. We summed up what we've spent what, about 40, 50 minutes?
About 45 minutes talking about
45 minutes talking about that. That is my point in a nutshell. You find something that works for you. And I know we usually like to end these a little bit, skippy and happy and shit like that, and we tell dick jokes. Don't worry, the dick jokes will be back next week. But this is legitimately something I wanted to do, because I feel like a lot of people suffer in silence, and I'm tired of that. A lot of my generation, a lot of the generation before us, suffer in silence and hope to God that one day it goes away. That one day the pain will just stop and they will be finally free to have their own fucking thoughts and their own fucking emotions and be in control of them. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but it won't. You need to find something to help you. And yes, while Chris does say, it does help to have friends or something, a coping method that works, that isn't destructive. I highly suggest, if you're having these destructive thoughts, or if you're having thoughts that aren't your own, or you just feel like something's wrong with you mentally, you have the opportunity, go see a therapist. It's done wonders for me. Because I suffered in silence for so many fucking years. I just sat there and I was gonna take it, and I was just gonna put on a fucking happy face, because I didn't deserve to be sad. I had a lot of good shit going on in my fucking life. I can't be sad. I need to make someone else fucking happy. That's just not the fucking case. I don't care how rosy your life looks from the outside. Internally, your world could be an entire fucking car wreck. And you don't need to suffer in silence just because you think that you're not good enough, or that you've got too many things going for you to be sad, or to be having self-destructive thoughts. No, fuck that. Everyone, depression doesn't give a fuck about your class. Depression doesn't give a fuck about your
upbringing. Depression doesn't give a shit how much money you have in the bank.
Yeah.
Depression is Tyler Durden.
Yeah. Depression is the all-encompassing filth of the fucking world, and it wants to bring you the fuck down with it. Don't let it. Do not let something that could be not just, I'm not going to say treatable, but something you cannot let something inside you defeat you and get rid of you as a person. And that's another reason why I hate when people like make fun of this whole "your emotions are valid" movement. Fuck you. No, your emotions are fucking valid. Just like every other fucking thought in your brain is valid. You could be wrong. That's not what we're discussing. But you could definitely, those thoughts and those emotions are fucking valid. And everyone needs to understand that because someone comes to you and goes like, "I'm really fucking sad about blah, 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 blah," that's not a fucking excuse to make fun of them. They're reaching out to you for a fucking reason, and you need to act like it.
Yeah. You have the right to feel about something however you want to feel about it. Now, your basis for those feelings may come from a place of wrong information or something like that, but you are completely valid to feel the way you're feeling.
Yeah. And that's, I hate this whole fucking macho bullshit. It's led to a lot of young men dying because they can't get their brain working in the right way. They are literally dying because they're not allowed to have emotions, because they're not allowed to talk about their feelings.
Which comes from our parents' generation, because that's the way they were brought up. The men in our parents' generation, you don't talk about your feelings, you don't show them, you don't cry, you don't do anything like that. Fuck that. I'll be the first person to tell you that I will drop tears at the drop of a hat.
Yeah,
like,
so will I.
I've got no fucking problem about it.
Yeah.
I mean, do I maybe, turn my head and make sure no one can see? Yeah, maybe, but I know it's happening and I'm okay with it.
Yeah. And see, that's also your shame right there. I don't give I cry at the drop of a hat. I don't give a fuck who fucking sees me cry.
Dude, fucking sappy ass commercials will make my eyes water a little bit. Like
the Iron Giant makes me cry.
You're not human if you can sit through the Iron Giant and not tear up. I'm sorry, you're not. You're a lizard person. I said it.
Okay, spoilers for anyone that hasn't watched Iron Giant right now. I would suggest turning off the podcast. I appreciate you listening. All right. When he starts going up into the sky that last time, he goes, Superman. Fucking
Oh God, yeah.
like,
you can't not.
Yeah.
The Iron Giant and then the movie for me as a kid was fucking. This is gonna be terribly fucking nerdy in a weird way. The movie for me as a kid that did that was fucking Free Willy, man. You fucking freed Willy? Oh man, I was bawling my eyes out
when he jumps over the fence last time.
He jumps over that fucking rock barrier and he's fucking gone, and you're just like, it's tears of relief and just joy, and you're just so fucking. It's release.
And then there's the fucking ship with SeaWorld's logo on it going, pew, got him.
Yeah, right? Do not get me started on that topic. We could have a whole show about how I feel about fucking SeaWorld.
She's just like, all right, we got him. We'll make money off of him now.
Right.
But anyways, to kind of wrap this up in a bow, this may not be a typical episode, but this is about as much as I can talk about it without repeating myself too much.
Don't worry, the dick jokes and the humor will be back next week with whatever we decide to talk about. But this was something important that we both felt needed to come from us, and we appreciate you taking the time to listen to our opinions on the subject. And we hope that anything that either one of us said has made you stop and think, or even made you go, hey, that person, I recognize that in somebody I know. Maybe I need to reach out.
Yes. Perfect. Thank you. I completely fucking forgot about that. Thank you, Chris. No, if you see somebody going through all this stuff, don't just be like, oh, I'm not going to talk to them. When I see this happening now, I go up to them and go, hey, are you all right? You need someone to talk to?
Yeah, you good?
Yeah, do you need someone to talk to?
Perfect example. I got a buddy of mine at work who has told me he is diagnosed with clinical depression. He has a tattoo on his arm, which I fucking love. I forget what the technical term is for it, but if you read it one way, it's one thing. If you read it the other way, it's something else. So
I know what you're talking about. I can't think of it.
I can't think of what it's called, but when you're facing him, the tattoo says "I'm fine," but from his point of view, if you look down, it says "Help me."
Yeah.
So every time if I think something's up with him, I just look at him and go, "Hey, dude, you okay?" And he just taps his arm and taps his tattoo. That's when I know. I was like, all right, he's going through something right now.
Yeah. And don't accept, like, if somebody's going through shit, don't accept, I'm fine. I don't want to bother you. Fuck that noise. Bother me. Let me know what the fuck's going on. Tell me. Come on. Well, I don't want to bother you. You're not bothering me. Tell me. I want to hear what's going on with it right now in your life. Not everyone can be like that. I'm that person. Please fucking let me know what the hell's going on with you. I don't want my last conversation with you being, are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. And then I'll walk away and then something happens.
Right.
I will fight tooth and fucking nail for your life as much as I will for mine. And I think that's a perfect way to end this.
Yeah, that's wrapping it up in a bow. So once again, we will put in the show notes the suicide prevention hotline.
Yes, please call that if you have nothing else.
Please make sure you reach out to somebody if you're in need, or if you think someone's in need, make sure that you're the one that reaches out to them. You can always DM either of us on Twitter. We'll be happy to talk to you. If this episode helped, great.
Please let us know.
We're glad to hear that.
Yeah.
So that'll do it for us this week, though. I know this has been a little bit of a different one. Get serious on you every once in a while, but don't worry. The dick and the fart and the blowjob jokes will be back next week.
Yeah.
With whatever the hell we decide to talk about on the Anarchy Arena podcast, because I have been Chris the Metal Barrett.
And I've been John the Joker. And, we usually try to end this with our social medias. I really don't feel like this episode needs that. I feel like we should just let this one go.
We'll see you next week.